Hi Mike, I just thought it'd be a little bit quicker to do a quick video for you for all the exercises that I suggest that you do. I'm just going to go straight into it. So the first thing that I'd highly suggest you do is something called a hip bridge. Now you've probably done this before many a time, but there's a slight different variation on it. So what I want you to do is lie down onto your back, feet nice and close to your butt. And then the first part of the movement, the important part of the movement, is really to posteriorly tilt your pelvis. So what you're trying to do is flatten your back into the ground so there's no space between. Tucking underneath and then push down with your heels as you raise up to the top, squeeze your butt, drop back down. Tuck underneath again and then squeeze up to the top and drop back. Okay, you're going to do around 20 repetitions of that. What you should find and what you're hoping to feel is a slight burn in your butt. Alright, so if your butt's burning and you can kind of feel the sensation of it working, then fantastic. If you find that your hamstrings start to cramp, then it means your hamstrings are going to try and take over and your glutes aren't doing the job that they should be doing. So have that focus, really try and get that mind-muscle connection onto your glutes. Alright, if your hamstrings do cramp, just extend your legs out and start again and really focus on the glutes and getting that activation from your glutes. What you're going to do is you're going to pair that with a kneeling psoas stretch. So after you've done your 20 repetitions, what you want to do is come up, put one foot out in front of the other, and again the big point here is to posteriorly tilt your pelvis. So what you're trying to do is pull that underneath and pull that up from there. And as you're into that position, what you should find is your back should be flat. It shouldn't be arched in any way, shape or form. And you should feel a stretch just through the front of your hip joint from there. Try and breathe, relax into it and just push forward. So what you don't want is you don't want to be forward push from here and arching in your back. You want to be upright and really focus on that tucking underneath as much as possible. You're going to hold that stretch for around 30 to 40 seconds and then you're going to switch over to the other side. So the other side would be exactly the same, tucking underneath. Really focus on that tucking underneath, almost pulling down slightly with your chest. So you've got that stretch in your hip and really forcing it. What you can do as well, squeeze your glutes, relax them, and as you relax them, really try and get that pull underneath so you've got that posterior pelvic tilt. Alright, so what you're going to do is you're going to do those two exercises back to back, 3 sets. Alright, so 3 sets or a set on the hip bridge, then the psoas stretch, back to the hip bridge, back to the psoas stretch, and so on and so forth for 3 sets. If you're working your glutes, naturally your hips will relax and vice versa. So what you really want to do is make sure they're back to back. The next exercise you're going to do is very similar. It's a single leg hip bridge. So the single leg hip bridge runs on the exact same principle, but all you're going to do is pull that leg or one leg up towards you and grab it. Now the key here is to make sure that this is nice and close. So knee is really close to your chest and you're tucking. So the closer you get from here, naturally your spine's going to posteriorly tilt and then push all the way up to the top as high as you can. Now you might find that as you're pushing up to the top, you can't get a lot of movement out of it. That will just tell you that your hips are really tight. But the key thing, as I said, is keeping that knee right up. You can put a golf ball just in your hip, trap it in there, and then just pushing up to the top, really trying to keep hold of that golf ball. So what you're going to do, pushing again from your heels, you're going to do 10 to 15 repetitions on one side, 10 to 15 repetitions on the other side, and then you're going to pair that with a rec fem stretch. So the rec fem stretch, again another hip flexor stretch. What you want to do is set one foot up onto a bench, a stool, sofa, whatever it might be. Throw that other leg out in front of you and then arm goes down, push your hip down towards the ground. So again, what you'll notice is your back's flattened, it's in a posterior tilt, and you really want to drive your hip down towards the floor. While you're doing that, again, you can contract, relax with your glutes. So squeeze your glute, right glute as hard as you can, and then relax it. As you relax it, try and take that stretch just that little bit further. All right, same again, contract, relax, and you're going to do that for about 40 seconds. As you come up to the top, so from that stretch, pull yourself up. From here, you really want to make sure you're, again, posteriorly tilting your pelvis. So come right up, posteriorly tilt your pelvis, and just hold for a further 20 seconds. Make sure your back's flat and not arched. All right, that's the key. So there's a nice straight line, and it's underneath with your hips, and just holding from there. So again, you're going to do the right leg, then you're going to do the left leg, and back and forth with those two. Now that should really start to open your hips out and get your glutes activated, which would be fantastic for pulling your anterior tilt back round into a neutral position. The next thing you're going to do is something called an X-band walk. So the X-band walk, buy yourself one of these if you haven't got one, a band all the way around, alright. What we're doing here is firing up glute med, so the side of your butt muscles. Now, the stronger these guys get, the less pressure it is going to be on your lower back. So what you want to do, once you've got one of these, is take a step on it, make sure your feet are roughly shoulder width apart and the band's in the middle of your shoe. From there, twist and get some tension on the band. So you've got that tension. Now, next thing you need to do is tighten your abs up. Really, really tighten your abs up, and then side step out and bring your feet back to shoulder width apart. Alright, side step out, back to shoulder width, and so on and so forth. And what you're going to do is just 3 or 4 steps out to the right, and then 3 or 4 steps out to the left. Now, what you want to try and avoid during this movement is bending, laterally flexing, and trying to push out. So if you get tired, you've tendency to laterally flex and push the leg out. Avoid that. Keep yourself tight, keep your belly tight, posteriorly tilt that pelvis again, really tuck underneath, side step nice and powerful, side step nice and powerful, back and forth. Done right, what you should find is a real burning sensation in the side of your butt. Now, the more burning, the better it's going to be for you. And what you're going to do is you're going to aim for around 2 minutes of stepping. So stepping to the side for 2 minutes, stepping to the other side for however long, back and forth, really get your glutes fired up. You're going to combine that with an adductor stretch. So your adductor stretch, stretching the inside of your thighs. Now these guys get really, really tight as well as the hip flexors, and they pull you into anterior tilt. So what you're going to do is set your feet, knees out as wide as you can, drop your hips down to the floor, and just try and relax into that position. Now, the further you can get down with your hips, the better it's going to be for you. So breathe, just relax, and try and get as low as you can and open yourself out from your adductors. Again, so the next one we're going to do, it's another one for your glute med to get them even further fired up. It's called the clam. The clam, bit of a girly exercise, but it is really, really good for you. Lying down onto your side, bring your knees up nice and high. Feet should be together. One hand on your hip, so you're not going to rotate from your pelvis, and you're just going to raise one leg up as high as you can and drop it back down and repeat. Good. If your adductors are tight, what you might find is there's some tightness and you won't be able to get too high with that movement. But high as you can, and then drop yourself back down from there. So you're going to pair that with an exercise called the dead bug. Now the dead bug is a core exercise, and what you're wanting to do, again, lie down onto your back, bring both knees up towards your chest so you're naturally posteriorly tilting. Your back's flat into the ground, and you're going to start with the modified version, so an easier version. So one knee has to stay up all times. Extend that leg, don't let yourself arch. Alright? Abs should be nice and tight. Almost try and pull belly button in towards the spine, and then drop down to the other side. Now done right, you should really feel this in your abdominals. Drop back, bring that knee up nice and high, and again, and nice and high, and just repeat. So back and forth, and you're going to be going round for around a minute. So you've got a clam for a minute, and then back into the dead bug for a minute, and then the clam for a minute, and then the dead bug for a minute. You should feel your abs. Try not to arch your back. If you find you're arching your back, you need to just stop, start again, take a bit of a breather in between. All right, and the final exercise you're going to do is an incline plank. So the incline plank position is a slightly easier variation on the plank, but what I really want you to do is focus on, again, posteriorly tilting your pelvis. So set yourself up, doesn't matter where, but feet nice and wide, and tuck underneath, squeeze your butt muscles. So again, the important part for you is, if that's a middle position for you, it's trying to tuck underneath and hold, right, the whole way through. So it'll feel a little strange, it'll feel a little odd, but get that tuck underneath, and it'll certainly fire your abs up a lot more, and give you that core strength that you much needed. So that's the program in a nutshell. That should take you about 20 minutes or so to do. I suggest you doing it every single day. Let me know how you go, but really the main kind of focus, get the glutes firing up, get the glute medius firing up, get your core firing up, and start repositioning your pelvis, taking some of the stress off of your lower back. That's phase one, and then we'll go through phase two after you start implementing that. Let me know how you go. I'll speak to you soon.